Okay, so we are moving to a new topic, that is data mining, and data mining basically is used to infer certain decisions based on data analysis and other things. And here we will discuss some of the issues related to data mining, that how we can apply it in context of business, what kind of decisions can be taken based on the data analysis and other things, and then we will also discuss about data mining drivers, what are the, why we are moving to data mining, what are the business drivers, what are the technical drivers, okay, what is the cycle, and how we can better understand business using data mining. And then we will also talk about on the second part about the data management, okay, how we get the sources, what are the sources, how we prepare, what are the models that is used, and how we identify certain criteria for decision making, and then how we deploy and see that what needs to be done at the later stages. Then we will take some examples to show you that how data mining has been used in business contexts. Okay. So, we are moving to data mining now, the first part, that is data mining. Now, what is data mining? If you look at data mining, basically it is interdisciplinary subjects, and the input come from a number of areas, maybe computer science, maybe mechanical engineering, maybe statistics, maybe behavioral sciences, right. So, the inputs are coming from different disciplines like statistics, which basically talks about what you call how to analyze the data using certain statistical tools and techniques. Then we have machine learning, that is how we are going to simulate machines to infer or design certain techniques for data analysis. And then we also use artificial intelligence, where we develop certain programs to make decisions based on computers. Okay. So, when you are going to have huge data in your organization, it could be related to transactions, various transactions that you make, or it could be the data that is already in your archives or repositories, okay, or the data is that is coming through internet. So, that there could be different kind of things that has evolved, and that is how you have been created a huge databases. Okay. And since you have this database, but it is lying idle in your repositories, because you are not able to make use of it for taking certain decisions. Okay. And that is why it is very important for you to use the data, apply the data, take certain inferences from them, and make certain business decisions which could be advantageous to you, because you know that today you are going to work in a very competitive environment. Unless you innovate, okay, and continuously improve and develop yourself as an organization, it is not possible for you to have competitive advantage, because in this competitive world, only those who are going to continuously improve and innovate themselves are going to survive and grow. So, what needs to be done is that how we can use this data, I mean different kind of data that is available with the organization. It could be related to the employees, could be related to the sales, it could be related to the profit, or any kind of databases which are there. So, what you need to do is you need to mine the data. Mining means extracting patterns, okay, identifying say certain things out of it, then making certain decisions which can add value to the business. Okay. So, it is very important to go for these kind of mining activities, mining in the sense that you are going to extract something, okay, and that mining is to be done from the data, right. For example, when you go to a coal mine, what you are going to extract is coal. So, similarly, when you are going to extract data, you are not going to extract data, but you are going to identify certain trends, patterns, values, which help you to decision making. Okay. And then you have to see what kind of tools and techniques are to be used for decision making using data mining, right. So, moving further, we will see that how data mining is used and what are the things that is done in case of data mining. So, data mining, if you look at definition, it is nothing else but discovering knowledge which is available with the databases. See, databases are basically information. Okay. Now, if you are going to use and apply in a particular context, it becomes knowledge, as we have already talked about it. So, when you are going to have some kind of discovery from the data, it means that you are going to identify something that is new. something that is innovative, something which was there, but not known to you, right. So, that is what we call data mining. So, basically you are trying to extract something which is not very trivial, but it is there, okay, which is not known earlier, but now you will be able to know it and it could be useful for you, right. Or you can identify certain information or patterns from the data which is lying with the large databases. Let me give you an example to explain this further. Say for example, IIT Kharagpur has a huge database of alumni. Okay. Alumni database means that the number of individuals who are passing out every year in different disciplines and areas. Now, if they are passing out, the database is there with the alumni cell. Now, many of them are moving to different roles, positions, higher positions, right. Now, this database is not going to be useful unless you are going to source these alumni and ask them to contribute to the growth and development of the organization, right. Now, many of them are willing to give back to the alma mater, but what you need to do is that you need to identify who are the potential contributors. Okay. So, you have to search the databases, find out who are working in different positions, who are in a position to afford to contribute to the alma mater. Okay. So, you need to extract this data based on certain rules, okay, and then you can approach them and ask them to do it, and that is going to be a potential usefulness, you can say, for the organization. So, even if you have a large databases, if it is not going to be used by you, then it is useless. So, what you need to do is that you see that how you are going to make use of data by extracting patterns, trends, values and these kind of things. It means identifying something that is already there, but you do not know about it. Okay. So, you are going to extract data, you are going to do some kind of analysis to identify patterns and trends. Say for example, I take another issue. See, we have to see that how the placement of IIT students are taking place every year, okay, in terms of the quality of placement, in terms of compensation, apart from the number of students that are being placed. Now, you have this database. So, can you identify certain patterns? Okay. Say for example, what is the average salary trend, what is the quality of placement, right, and you can use them to further strengthen your placement process, right. So, that is a decision that you are going to use based on the data related to the placement, right, and that is where it is very, very important to use this data for potential application in the context of business, and then based on it you are going to take certain decisions, right. So, that is what exactly data mining is. Why we are going for data mining? What are the motivations? Why it is important for data mining? If you remember, in these two examples that I have taken, data related to the alumni, I mean the databases of the alumni, how it could be a potential use or the placement data, right. Why I am giving this examples? To see that these data are lying idles. You are having huge data of alumni or huge data placements year to year, that is piling up in your repositories, but why you want to make use of it? Because you want to extract something and you want to use your alumni for the benefit, or you want to strengthen your compensation process or system. You want to streamline it, you want to see that IIT students passing out get better jobs with better salaries, okay, and a better prospects in life, and later on they contribute to the alma mater. Now, what are the issues that is coming up with data mining, right? Now, even if you have a huge database, okay, and this database is increasing day by day, okay. So, what you need to do is that the data is exploding at a rate that cannot be imagined. So, every year the database is increasing, right. So, storage is another issue, and then you are going to store tremendous data in your databases, right, or repositories. It could be other repositories, say archives that you have, it could be your say websites where you have lot of data, you could have data in warehouses, basically data warehouses or repositories, right. So, these databases, warehouses and repositories which have stored huge amount of data, okay, this might explode tomorrow, because you are not going to make use of it, and then there would be a time when you will not have a place to store the data. So, once that data is used, you identify certain trends and patterns, okay, that data may not be necessary to have it. So, data explosion has become a big problem with most of the organizations. They do not know what to do with this data, how to make use of this data, how they can take certain decisions, and that is where data mining comes to help you. Okay. So, another issue is that yes, data is there, information is there, but it has not been converted into knowledge. Okay. So, the statement says that we are drowning in data, but starving for knowledge. Though we have a huge database, but we are not going to make use of it, significant use of it, or apply it in business contexts, right. So, what is the benefit of having a data if we are not going to convert them into knowledge which is relevant, which is actionable, which could be put into context to make certain business decisions. Now, what is the solution? If you have huge data, you are not able to convert them into knowledge which could be used in business context, okay, and then the solution is that go for data warehousing and data mining. Now, data warehousing basically is something that we are going to make use of data, but not at the deeper level compared to what you call data mining, right. And what actually happens in data warehousing, that you frame certain rules, regulations and all kind of things. So, you can get some interesting knowledge out of it, but if you are going for data mining, probably you can extract better things. You can use statistical models and other form of say rules and regulations and from the databases, right. So, it is very important for us today to go for some kind of data mining activities, so that at least whatever data is there in the repositories or in the warehouses, okay, can be meaningfully useful. Now, if you look at certain perspectives, like it has a business application, commercial viewpoint, right. See, lot of data is being collected. Okay. It could be related to web data, it could be related to e-commerce or purchase department of the grocery stores or bank and credit transactions. So, can you use this data to take certain decisions? Say for example, you have ATM for money exchange, right. Now, if you look at how much money is being disbursed by ATM every month on an average for a year, can you make use of this data? Yes, you can identify the trends and patterns, okay, how many people are using, how much amount is being disbursed, and accordingly you can take certain decisions that okay, how much money you need to feed into the ATMs, so that people find it more convenient and comfortable to use, right. So, there could be certain decisions like you are going for online transactions. Okay. So, you can track your sales, you can track your growth, that how much, how many, what are those items which are being sold more, what are those items which are being sold less, right, in a particular store, and then accordingly you can take certain decisions related to inventory management. What are the items that you need to store more, what are the items that you need to store less. So, these decisions can be taken based on the data analysis, that data mining. Right. So, these are the decisions which are commercial decisions, which are in the interest of the business, and that is why you need to go for this, right. And that is where IT and computers have come there in a big way to help you to identify these trends and patterns, right. And it is very important, because you need to make profits. As a commercial establishment, your objective is not to only sell goods and services, but also to make profit. And when you want to make profit and you have to take certain business decisions related to this, then you have to use these kind of databases to make certain decisions. Okay. It could be related to online transactions, it could be related to inventory management, it could be related to tracking the profits and growth, or even managing your customers also, right. You can track how many customers you have, how many customers are leaving, and then accordingly you can go for some kind of relationship management to retain customers to make them loyal and committed to your organization. Okay. Because all these are the things which are going to provide you some kind of competitive advantage, right. So, it has a purpose, and most of the commercial organizations are going for these kind of activities today to make certain business decisions. So, that was the commercial viewpoint. Now, I will discuss about the scientific perspective, that why we are going to have these kind of things. Okay. You know that the data that is collected and stored in the repositories is huge. Okay. We are still not sure that how many GB of data is being collected or being archived per hour. So, you can imagine every year how much data is being stored, right, like the data that is coming through satellites, okay, or that when you are going to scan the skies, or when you are going to see that how the genes are being expressed, or a lot of examples that you have seen here, right. So, you are going to say accumulate terabytes of data and data and data, but unless you make use of them to identify certain trends and patterns, it becomes useful. And that is why if you look at from the scientific perspective also, it is being used by scientists, by engineers, by microbiologists, by genetic engineers. And if you look at these examples, you can see that how they have been able to identify trends and patterns, okay, by simulating generating terabytes of data based on this, that so that they can identify trends and patterns, and that they can take certain decisions based on this. Now, why we are going for data mining? Why not other techniques? Because it is not possible to structure raw data, classify and organizing them into a meaningful information using other techniques, and that is why it is important that we should go for data mining, which basically helps you to classify and segment data based on certain parameters, okay, and you can also check certain hypotheses, okay, based on the data that you have achieved, and then you can go for some kind of deductive reasoning. Okay, if this is happening, then this will happen, right. Now, I am giving some examples of data mining here. For example, say if you look at this particular example, it says that find all credit applicants with last name of Sinha. Another example, customers who have purchased more than 30,000 rupees in the last month, okay, and then all customers who have purchased chocolate ice creams. These are related to say vendors. Okay. Now, if you are going to use databases for data mining, what you can do? You can go for classification. What does it mean? Okay. It means that you can identify all those credit applicants which have poor risk, because based on this you can see whether they have been defaulters or not defaulters. So, you can classify them as defaulters or not defaulters, right. And then you can also identify those customers which are spending more than 30,000 rupees. So, you can cluster them together and you can see what kind of things they are buying and take certain decisions. So, that is another techniques that which is used in data mining is clustering. So, classification we have already talked about, if you remember the last part, when we go for analyzing the data, we classify data based on certain decision rules, and then we go for clustering of the data. So, we can identify clusters of groups or people with similar habits, attitudes and behaviors, okay. And we can also identify certain rules, association rules, that okay, if this is related to this, I mean all items which are frequently purchased with the ice cream. Okay. If a person is purchasing ice cream, chocolate ice cream, then what are the other items they are purchasing. Okay. So, you know that if the person those people who are purchasing ice cream, they are going to purchase these items. So, you go for better inventory management. Okay. We also need to keep these items, because people are going to buy ice cream along with these things, right. So, these are some of the techniques which we will discuss further, like classification, clustering and association, and some of them we have already talked about it, like association rule and clustering, which is used in case of data mining. Now, how we go about decisions based on data mining, right. Now, if you look at the classification scheme, we have to identify what are the databases, what are the different type of databases that need to be mined, right. Then you also need to know what kind of knowledge you are going to discover, right. So, you make certain hypotheses, okay, we are going to use this data to identify certain things, right. Then what are the techniques that is used for data mining, whether you are going to use statistical technique or non-statistical techniques, okay, and what are the applications of this information that is being converted into knowledge in the context of business, right. So, when you are going to take decisions based on data mining, first of all you need to identify the database that is to be mined. Second, what is the use of the database, for what purpose you are going to mine the database. Okay. Third, what are the techniques that you are going to use for mining the databases, and finally, what would be its application, where you are going to apply this information, knowledge that is being coming out of this database, right. So, it could be in two forms, right. It could be descriptive or it could be predictive. It means you are going to simply describe the databases, right, and second is that you are going to make certain predictions based on the database. Let me give you some examples of both. Say you want to identify what is the trend of admissions in the BTech program, right. So, once all the admissions in all IITs have been completed, you can identify how many students have taken admissions across different IITs, okay, right. Then you can also describe this data based on gender, right. How many girls students have taken admissions, how many boys students have taken, and what is the ratio of boys to girls. You can also describe this data based on another factor, that is rank wise, okay. Based on their IIT ranks, JEE ranks, where they have taken admissions. So, you can give a descriptive information, okay, that yes, this IIT has got students with better ranks, this IIT has got students with not so better ranks, right. So, rank can also be used as a data, I mean as for description of the data to identify which IITs are attracting better students, which IITs are not able to attract better students. But this information is only descriptive in nature, because what you have done, you have used certain parameters to describe the data, right. Say for example, based on the socioeconomic status you can identify, you can also identify state wise how many students have cleared JEE, right. So, but all this data is going to based on certain parameters, whether it is rank, whether it is status, that is socioeconomic status, or whether it is something else, but that is going to be more descriptive in nature, right. So, that is what we call descriptive data mining. Coming to predictive data mining is that when you are going to use this data based on the analysis, you are going to predict certain things. Okay. So, for example, you can predict based on the trends of the admissions based on the rank, okay, that it is likely that students with higher ranks are going to take admission in this particular IIT, right. So, this kind of predictions can be made based on the past data, and then it becomes a more predictive analytics. So, predictive data mining, what happens, you are going to identify the trends and patterns for the future. So, if you have databases say of the top 100 or top 200 students where they have taken admissions. So, you use certain statistical techniques and can identify that top rank holders are likely to take admission in which IIT. That is, you are going to predict that yes, they would be taking admissions in these IITs. What next? Once you are able to identify this, then you can take certain decisions that what needs to be done by other IITs who are not able to attract good students, okay, and that is going to be a business decision, right. So, when you are going to take decisions based on data mining, so you have to identify what kind of databases you are going to use, what for you are going to use. So, you are going to use this decision based on the databases of JEE admissions, right. You are going to what you are going to discover, that is what is the sex ratio, what is the what are the status of the students who qualify JEE, right, from which states they are coming, what are the different kind of ranks, and based on that you are going to analyze certain techniques, either descriptive statistics or inferential statistics, to describe the data, or you are going to predict certain things, right. That is, I am talking about the techniques, and finally the application, and then you are going to make use of this data once you have identified the trends and the patterns, that how we are going to make use of this data. It means, say for example, you find that sex ratio is very skewed. It means that there are more male students coming to system than female students. Now, IIT need to encourage and motivate girls students to come to IITs, right, to study science and engineering. So, the ministry and IITs can take a decision that how they need to encourage female students to join IIT. So, that is the application part, right, and that is where you are going to take certain decisions based on data mining, right. So, further description, databases that is to be mined, you have to identify, it could be relational databases, it could be transactional databases, or it could be object oriented relational activities, it could be databases based on time, text databases, multimedia databases, okay, or worldwide web databases. So, you have different kind of databases. The only thing is that you need to identify which database is to be used by you. Then what kind of knowledge is to be mined, whether simply looking into the characteristics of the data, you want to discriminate between different categories and groups, you want to make some kind of association between different factors which are there, right, or you want to classify data into different categories, or you want to cluster them. Say for example, state wise data if you have of JEE students who have qualified, then you can cluster them, okay, for each state how many students have qualified, right. So, you can identify clusters of students who are coming from a particular state, right. So, that is how you can identify the cluster. You can go for trend, you can identify, okay, from which states more students are qualifying. You can also deviate and go for outlier analysis, because you will find that, okay, from some states more students are qualifying compared to the average, okay. And then you can also go for multiple integrated functions and mining at multiple levels. You can not only at one particular level, but you can move further to different level to identify and do the same kind of activities, okay. Then what kind of technology you are going to use, okay, whether it is database oriented, whether you are using online analytical processing, especially what is known as data warehousing, or you are going to use machine learning, that is a more simulated environment, right, or you are going to for data visualization, or using certain statistical techniques for description and prediction, okay, or you can also use neural networks, we have already talked about it. Then what is the application? Business application, especially in case of banking, fraud analysis, telecommunication, okay, stock markets, web mining, all kind of things that can be taken up, okay, from the commercial perspective. So, when we are talking about decisions in data making, it is very, very important, and that is why we are going for data mining. So, what are the different tasks that is done? That is prediction task. You are going to use certain variables to predict unknown or future behavior of those variables, right, or you are going to simply describe the characteristics of the data, okay. Based on the analysis of the data, you can identify certain patterns that is going to describe the data. For example, based on the JEE admissions, you can identify, okay, how many students are qualifying, right, from which state they are qualifying, what is the ratio of the boys to the girls. So, this is basically the description of the data. Now, how we go about data mining? Different activities, that is you go for classification, that is you want to use some kind of predictive analytics, then clustering where you want to describe the data based on the patterns, then you are going to again do certain association rules discovery. For example, you can say that, okay, those students who are having good ranks will take admission to on this particular IT. So, you are going to try to associate, but that is again descriptive. So, then you can also identify certain patterns, okay, what will happen, that is again descriptive. Then you can use certain predictive analytics, like using certain statistical forms of analysis like regression analysis and these kind of things, where you try to predict future pattern, okay, like you are going for multiple regression analysis based on certain factors, how are you going to predict. Then you can also use other kind of techniques, basically the idea is to predict, okay. Then you can also identify deviations, like what are the outliers and those kind of things based on the data. So, these are the different kind of data mining tasks that is used. Look at this. This talks about how we are going to use data mining models and tasks. Now, if you look at this, it talks about two kind of data mining techniques, that is descriptive and predictive. In case of predictive, we have classification, regression, time series analysis and regression and prediction. In case of descriptive techniques, we have clustering, summarizing the data to identify the characteristics, identifying certain association rules, or discovering the sequence, right. So, these are the data mining models that is used in terms of techniques and activities that takes place in case of data mining. Now, we will talk about data mining and business intelligence, right. So, as you remember, we are talking about that there has to be some kind of business applications of data mining. So, that you can identify certain new knowledge, discover certain new patterns, okay, which could be potentially useful in case of business. Now, you are trying to develop certain software, certain automated systems, which is going to be fed with the data, and then you are getting certain outputs. Okay. And that is what we know as business intelligence. Business intelligence is nothing else, but it includes tools and techniques which helps you to take certain business decisions, which is based on information systems, right. So, these are basically automated systems using softwares which analyze the data and then give certain outputs, which could be helpful for taking certain business decisions, right. It could be like a spreadsheet, Excel sheet, okay, at the beginners level, and then you are moving to a more advanced decision support systems, where you feed the data and then it also not only gives outcome, but tells okay, these are the decisions that could be taken, okay, and then you have to decide which decision you have to go for, right. So, if you look at data mining, it includes 3 different type of knowledge, that is, it includes scientific knowledge, it is going to also help this business community, and it has the basis of IT, because IT is going to provide you the technology, okay, for automation, for analysis of the data, right. It supports the software, so that you can use those softwares to analyze the data and get the pattern, right. And that is why we find that okay, data mining is very important, okay, to make certain business decisions. Thank you.